thought, why not start that out today? Since my back's a little stiff, this can actually help with loosening up my back and my spine. So we're going to go ahead and go through with that. Now, of all the different types of movements out there, I'll say this time and time again, dance is probably one of the harder things to do because people are very disconnected from rhythm, and they're just not around, they're around it, but they just don't like participate with it. And so this used to be something that essentially everybody in a tribe would participate in. They'd be part of the music in some sort of way, whether they're singing, playing instruments, or they're dancing and going along with it, right? So those are things that are missed a lot in our culture. What I'm going to focus on today with you is actually learning how to do body waves. Now, I have a couple of different ways that I like to teach it, all right? And I find the hardest way to learn it is just to do it in the air and learning how to do it like that in the air or like this. I like to use external sources so you can get inputs on the joints of your body, so that way you can actually feel what you're doing and then have a way to actually learn from that. So we're going to go through different parts first. One of the first things we're going to start with is learning how to do the spine, learning how to do spine movements like that, and also spine movements side to side in that motion. So we're going to start with that. Then we're going to move on to arm movements and learn how to do arm waves in different positions such as that. And then we're going to focus on the legs and the bottom, okay? So the spine and hips is the first thing we're going to focus on. So I'm going to bring you over to the wall over here to show you how we're going to practice that first. Okay, this is a live video, so we're going to have a little bit of fun with this, and I have to move you over here. All right, so you can see I have the wall partition right here, okay? Now, why do I have the wall here? Well, the wall is going to help us learn how to move our spine. We're going to do this facing it, sideways, and also backwards. All right, so first one is facing it. You have to get up really close to the wall, okay, almost to the point where you're literally about to touch it with your head, like that. You're going to bend your knees a little bit so that your joints bend. If your legs and everything is stiff and straight, it's hard to feel your joints move. So you have to have a slight softening in the knees and bending down like that toward it. Hey Sandy, what's going on? So you are nice and low like this, knees are bent, and then you're going to touch the top of your forehead to the wall, and you're going to roll the body down the wall, trying to touch the forehead, the front of the face. I know it's kind of weird. Try to get the neck, the chest, the stomach, and then finally the hips against it. This is going to feel weird and look weird, but don't worry, you don't have to video yourself doing this. I'm videoing myself and looking weird for you so that you can then practice it on your own, okay? So this is the body wave to the front. I'm going to bend my knees and soften, and from there I'm going to touch the front of the head. I'm going to rub my face against it, then my chest, and then I'm going to roll through my stomach, down my rib cage until my hips hit. And then I'm going to hit with my thighs and then eventually my knees. I'm going to repeat that process over and over again. Try to do 10 times all the way through. So the top of the head really. Then the forehead, the nose, the face, the chest and neck, through, all the way down. And I'm going to continue to do that motion like that. Okay? All the way through. Now, if you're doing that, okay, you can also have a buddy, you know, with a stick or something in front of you, and you can do that down the stick as well. But if you don't have a buddy to do that with, you use the wall like so. So that was the front portion, right? Facing the wall, going through that motion like that. Now if you go backwards, the same exact thing applies. Soften the knees, back of the top of the head's going to hit first, then every little piece down the spine, all the way through the hips, maybe even the thighs in the back. But it depends on how the body bends, okay? So soften and bend down like this. And from here I'm going to go back with the head first, touch, and then I'm going to roll down each vertebrae and then go through it again. So I'm going through the whole motion here. And as soon as I can actually get my head back to the wall, I want to try to do that. Okay, so you can be out here the whole time if you want, but it actually works better if you start the next wave, okay, at that point there. So here and through, here and through, right? And I'm letting every vertebrae touch the wall as I go down, all the way till it hits my lower back, right down here, and eventually my glutes and buttocks as I come off the side there. So you have that forward, you have it backwards, and now you're going to go sideways. The sideways one is a little bit weird too, but I'm going to shift the camera angle so you can see it through the side here. So coming back this way, we are now inside of the doorway, okay? So, and by the way, you could do this facing the doorway as well, okay? You can do forwards and backwards facing the doorway as well, but I didn't want to show that. I wanted a flat wall for that. So now we're going to go sideways, okay? This one's probably the harder of the three different positions to get into, but you're going to put your arms up like that, okay? You can have them bent if you want, but again, soften in the knees, okay? And you're going to touch the side, and then you're going to roll down the side of the body all the way to the end into the hips, okay? Touch the side, down, all the way into the hips. Touch the side, through the arm, into the ribs, okay? All the way down to the bottom oblique area, and then push through, okay? And you keep repeating that. Try to get as much pushing into that as possible so you don't skip any part of that, okay? This side, same thing, right? Going through, soften the knees, through the side and around. Through the side and around, right? I could get a little more through here, so I'm going to get a little more side bend and then through there. All right, I'm going to go backwards for you so you can see it from behind. From here, hitting, and down. Make sure to soften the knees. All right, same thing on this side. Soften the knees, and then through. Now you need to make sure to follow through with that hip at the end, okay? So if your knees are softened and you're up against the wall, you want to be able to push your hip up and down like that. But you have to have the knees bent for the hips to go up and down in that fashion. If they're not, then you're going to be stiff and the hips won't be able to move as easily, right? So you have to soften in the knees to be able to allow the hips to go up and down. So now you have your front and back way of touching the wall, so you have some receptivity and you can feel where the body is during that time, and also sideways. When you've done about 10 repetitions or so, try to get away from the wall and then try it without the wall. So if the wall was here, I did about 10 repetitions or so, I'd step back, I'd bend my knees, and then I would try to do the spinal wave, okay, without the wall. Okay, I'm thinking about the front of the head hitting as I'm doing that, or I can think about the back hitting, right? Either way. Then sideways, the same exact thing with the arm up. If you need to, think about the arm being up and going up like this to the side, or you can have your arms down and then feel it this way as well. You'll probably, once you get used to the arm up, put your arms down. The only reason I didn't have it with your arms down like this right now is because you can't feel the side of your body as much unless your arm is up going down the side of the wall. Okay? So you have the body wave for the spine, forwards, backwards, and then this way. There's also twisting motion, but we're not going to cover that quite yet. Okay? Now we're going to go into arms. Okay? So I'm going to move you again. Let's turn you, because we're going to need this spot right here. Okay, so not everybody has it set up like this, and I'm aware of that, okay? But if you have a countertop or something where you can get underneath it or above it with your body, this is going to help you figure out how to do the arm waves, okay? The arm waves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down where I'm slightly bending the legs, all right? And I can rest my forearm on it. I don't want to be completely flat like that. I just want to rest my forearm on it like this. Okay, from this position here, I am going to move my hand up and down, just like that. Okay, bring you closer so you can see what I mean. Okay, right here. Okay, move my hand up and down like that. Okay, what's going to happen here is as I move it up, when I bring it back down, I'm going to curl the fingers down. Curl them down. So my fingers up, and then I curl them down like that, right? So they're up, and then they curl down. When they curl down, it's going to, when it touches the top of the table here, it's going to push my wrist up, okay? But I try to maintain, my dog might bark in a second here. Hey, be quiet, dog. Be a good puppy. No. So, live videos, guys, this is what happens. So as my fingers curl down here, okay, what's going to happen is my wrist is going to pop up, and then I'm going to keep my elbow down in contact here, just like the wall drill we did. We're trying to keep as much in contact as possible and only allow what needs to come off to show off the movement, right? So if I'm here, fingers come up, fingers curl down, okay, so the wrist pops up, fingers pop up, wrist stays down. It doesn't have to come up yet. Then as the fingers come down, okay, it's going to push up the wrist. Okay, and then my elbow's in place. And then from there what's going to happen is that in order to get the next part to move, my elbow to come up, okay, then my wrist has to come down. So if I go through that motion repeatedly, like this, okay, and I'm imagining if you want to put your hand on your shoulder here to keep it down, because you don't want to hike it up too much when you're doing this. You just want to focus on the wrist, the fingers, the wrist, the elbow, okay? Yes, your shoulder moves, but you don't want it to go up and down. So I'm here and here, right? Fingers come up, curl down, push the wrist up, my elbow stays down. Then as the palm comes down, the elbow goes up, the shoulder stays down. Okay, that whole time. So then I repeat. Coming down to there, right? And then as I come through here, when the fingers start to come up, that forearm starts to come down again. And I am working through that motion. And you can exaggerate that as much as you want. Okay, going through there. Hey, just 1 second, doggy's barking. I don't know. One starts barking, the other starts barking. So we have that motion through there, right? You can exaggerate that as much as you need to be able to do that. Okay? The next thing we're going to be doing from there is lowering yourself down a little bit so that your shoulder can go up and down more. This is the final part of the arm wave, okay? So from the lower position here, as I come through right here, okay, then I can pull it into my shoulder as the forearm goes down. So the shoulder only goes into place as the forearm starts to come down. So you see as I'm here, the elbow's up, the shoulder hasn't come up yet. As the elbow drops, then the shoulder pops up. Okay? Boom, boom, boom. And this is the trickiest part of it because everybody wants to hike their shoulder up immediately. Wait for that, right? We want to think of it as the wave that's going through and then it pushes into the shoulder at the very end there. So you can feel that a little bit more if you're lower down, like this, up, and then you feel that last little part there as you go through, right? But we're not done yet. You can also do this from the bottom. Okay, so from the bottom here, what I would start with is my hand flat like that. My wrist would pop up, and then from there I can curl, and I hit the back of my wrist here, right? Then the forearm elbow, and then finally the shoulder. So I can do the motion underneath as well, like that. And yeah, it's not perfect, but it does allow you to actually feel the motion of that going through like that, right? And you might have to turn your arm a little bit too. If you can't go straight up and down, like that, then you can actually turn the arm a little bit, which might actually help you do that as well. So that's for the arms, right? Now we got to talk about the legs. And we already talked a little bit about the hips because you have to do the hips in order to do the spine, right? Your spine just doesn't move by itself. Your hips at the very end have to be, your legs need to be soft for your hips to be able to move. And you saw as you did the rib cage one, you have to push your hip up at the end to kind of finish that wave in that position, right? So now this is, again, probably one of the hardest parts of this whole thing. Oh, have I been live this whole time? Yeah, we're still live. Something went wrong. Tap to retry. I'm not going to tap to retry. We seem to be doing just fine here. So now I'm going to go into what the legs do, okay? So as your legs are soft, right there, okay? From this position, all right, if I'm to the side with my hip, like so, I'm going to just let the leg slide out and come back in. So this is going to be led with the hip, okay? Led with the hip first. Let the hips shift to the side, and then let the legs come out and come back in. Just one leg, right? And you can't really do this one against the wall because you just end up hitting the wall repeatedly, and it doesn't really help you get this actual motion back and forth. But the hip leads, then the leg comes out and comes back in, right? And I want to keep, again, soft in the knees like this. Hip leads, leg comes out, comes back in. Right? So we're going to do about 10 reps of those here. Hip, leg, back. Hip, leg, back. And I'm just sliding my foot out there. All the weight comes into the other leg, right? And then I let that leg come out and come back in, and it stays soft. Here, out, 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 right? Same thing on the other side. From here, I let the hip lead, and then I let the leg slide out and come back in. We haven't even incorporated the knee yet, okay? Let's incorporate the knee. So from a bent position here, right, if I slightly slide my leg out, I have a lot of side-to-side motion that can happen here. My foot is staying flat, my hip is relaxed, and my knee is coming in and out like this. And basically it's moving back and forth with accordance with the ankle mobility and the hip mobility. So this side-to-side motion like that. If I go the other side, giving the leg out a little bit, and then I should allow I'm still very relaxed, all the weight's on this side, and I just have room to move this leg side to side like that. Okay? So you have that forward and back motion. You'll probably start to feel it burning on the side a little bit because you're not used to using those muscles there. Moving on, if we combine those things together where I slide my leg out and back in, but I let my knee lead this motion, where I kind of let it relax out to the side, and then it leads everything out, okay, then you get this sliding motion to the side like that. Other way, knee leads, and it slides out. And yes, I am allowing my foot to turn, so this rotation turns and comes back like that, right? So I can stay sideways if you want, but it's really hard not to let that body, let that ankle turn and toes kind of lead you to the side, from one side to the other like that. And then we have front to back, okay? Again, soften the knees here, focusing my weight on the back leg, and I'm going to let my leg come forward and back here. And what I'm going to do as I come back is I'm going to let my heel come up, and then I'm going to step forward again and slide again, like this. So all the weight's on my other back leg here. I'm bringing the back leg here, I'm popping up as if I'm going to walk forward, and then I step forward and repeat that process, and I slide it through, right? I can slide either direction with this. I should be able to slide it front to back. Okay, same thing here. Soften the knees, sliding the leg front to back, and then also be able to pick it up and walk forward. Coming up to the top here and walking forward. Okay, not really walking, but putting down, bringing it back. And those are the sliding motions. Now you can add those to the rest of your body, okay, with the ribcage isolation, and it's going to make it look even more interesting, right? So if I pull you up a little bit more here, make myself look a little bit taller, okay? From here, right, if I'm bending at the knees, okay, and I want to incorporate my sideways movement, when the sideways movement gets to my hip, then I let the leg come out and come back in, right? So now I'm able to incorporate this motion with that motion. I get this sideways motion here, right? Now, again, we didn't talk about how the body twists, okay? The twisting motion of your body can allow you to have more range and make it look like you're moving more. So this side-to-side motion can also become a figure-8 motion, and to do that, you're going to need to be able to dip the shoulders underneath a little bit more. Okay, so figure-8 with the chest, like that, or even with the head, okay? Those figure-8s are more advanced. We'll talk about them more later, but now just think of this being more flat, okay? More of a flat side-to-side motion, and that's how this actually all works together. So we're going to put on some music. I'm going to go through just standing all the different portions, all right? There's a bonus one too. From the side here, when you're doing your side stepping back motion, you can do that from upper body, spinal wave, and then you can slide back with each one. So if I go to here and then slide it back with the hip comes back, I can do that each time, right? So I'm going here and sliding back. Let the upper body lead the back. Let the upper body lead the back, right? Or I can even do foot goes forward, and then it makes me come up from the bottom here. Foot goes forward, comes up from the bottom here. So there's lots of ways you can incorporate this into the motion. Right? And again, we'll go more over that a little bit later. For now, you just have this ability to do everything at once. Let's put some music on and try it all out. And hopefully I'm still streaming here. It looks like I am, but we'll see what happens. Here's some louder music. Okay, starting out with upper body first. Let's go. this way. So we're going to go rolling through the upper body. Okay, sideways. Soften the knees. Okay, arms underneath the table. Both at the same time. You can do them independently. Okay, both at the same time. Okay, and then you also have side slide here. Okay, knees can bend. Foot turns out, knee leads, side to side. And if you feel comfortable, you can add them all together. You can guide one into the other, right? Advance, we'll talk about this more later. So you can guide one into the other. And that will start to come the more you play with it. All right, don't get too complicated. Have fun with it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody.